The phone buzzed against the kitchen counter. Unknown number. My thumb hovered over the decline button, but something made me answer. Maybe it was the timing 10:47 on a Tuesday morning, that strange hour when only important calls come through. Is this Robert Chen? A woman's voice, professional but warm. Speaking. Mr. Chen, my name is Angela Martinez. I'm calling from Ancestry Match DNA Services. We found a match in our database that we think you'll want to know about. I set down my coffee mug. My daughter Lisa had bought me that DNA kit for Christmas, insisting I'd find some distant cousins or learn about my heritage. I'd spit in the tube mostly to humor her, not expecting much. My parents were gone. I was an only child, or so I'd been told for 54 years. What kind of match? I asked. A sibling match, Mr. Chen. The probability is 99.8%. Does the name Michael Chen mean anything to you? The room shifted. Not tilted, that's too gentle a word. It fractured, like reality had been a photograph, and someone had just torn it in half. That's impossible, I heard myself say. I don't have a brother. But even as the words left my mouth, I was 8 years old again, sitting in the back of a social worker's car, watching through the rear window as another car drove away. A boy in that other car, pressing his palm against the glass. A boy who looked exactly like me. Mr. Chen, are you still there? I need to call you back, I managed, and hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking. I walked to the living room, to the old wooden box on the bookshelf. I hadn't opened it in decades. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper that had yellowed with age, was a tiny red Hot Wheels car, a '67 Camaro. I'd kept it all these years, though I could never explain why. It felt important, like holding on to it meant holding on to something real from before. The phone rang again. Same number. I'm sorry, Angela said when I answered. I shouldn't have dropped that on you so abruptly. Can we talk about this? Michael Chen has been searching for you for over 30 years. I sat down heavily on the couch, still clutching the toy car. Tell me everything. She explained that Michael had submitted his DNA 6 months ago, specifically looking for family, that his test had sat in the database, waiting until mine had been processed 3 weeks ago, that the moment the system flagged the match, Michael had called them every single day asking if they'd contacted me yet. He lives in Oregon, Angela said. Portland area. He's been there since 1989. I'm in Bend, I said quietly. We've been 2 hours apart for 36 years. The thing about memory is that it's never really gone. It just gets buried under years of other things, other moments that stack on top of it like layers of sediment. But sometimes, one detail, a name, a scent, a tiny red car can drill right through those layers and pull everything back to the surface. I was born in Sacramento in 1963. So was Michael, 4 minutes after me. Identical twins. Our mother was 19, unmarried, overwhelmed. Our father wasn't in the picture. She tried. I have flashes of memory, a small apartment that always smelled like cigarettes and instant coffee, a woman with dark hair who sang to us at bedtime, hands that were gentle even when they were tired. But by the time we were 6, she was gone. Not dead, just gone. One day she was there, and the next day she wasn't, and we were in a foster home. The Hendersons, they were nice enough, but they already had 3 kids of their own. 2 more was stretching them thin. Then, when we were 8, the social worker came. Mrs. Patterson. I can still see her face. Sharp features, glasses that were too big for her face, a smile that never quite reached her eyes. We've found a wonderful family for one of you boys, she'd said, sitting in the Hendersons' living room. They specifically requested 1 child. They can't take both. Michael and I had looked at each other. We developed that twin language people talk about, that wordless communication. In that moment, we were both thinking the same thing. They can't separate us. But they did. Mrs. Henderson cried. Mr. Henderson argued. Even their own kids protested. But Mrs. Patterson had papers, had authority, had the system behind her. She said it was temporary, that we'd see each other soon, that this was best for everyone. You each get to take 1 special toy, she'd said, as if that would make it better. We'd been playing with a pair of Hot Wheels cars, identical '67 Camaros. One red, one blue. Michael took the blue one. I took the red. We'd pressed our palms together through the car windows as we were driven in opposite directions. I'd watched until his car disappeared around a corner. Then I'd sat back and stared at the little red car in my hand and felt something inside me break that I didn't have words for yet. I was adopted 3 months later by the Chens Thomas and Linda Chen, who changed my name from Robert Miller to Robert Chen and loved me like I was their biological son. They were good people. They gave me a stable home, put me through school, supported every decision I made. When I asked about my birth family, they told me everything they knew, which wasn't much. They said I'd been listed as an only child in the foster system records. An only child, I repeated to Angela now, on the phone. The records said I was an only child. Michael's records said the same thing, Angela said carefully. He spent 3 months in that first placement, then was moved to another foster home. He aged out of the system at 18. He told me he tried to find you when he turned 21, but every search came up empty. The records had been altered. Altered? What do you mean altered? Mr. Chen, I think there's more to this story than just an unfortunate separation. Michael has been working with an advocate who specializes in foster care cases. They've found evidence that the social worker who handled your case, a woman named Patricia Patterson, falsified records for multiple twin and sibling sets over a 15-year period. She was splitting up siblings to place them individually because single-child placements were easier to find, and she was rewarded for successful placements. The toy car was digging into my palm. I loosened my grip. Is she still alive? She died in 2003. But the records she falsified are being corrected now, as cases are discovered. Michael's advocate believes there could be dozens of siblings who don't know about each other. I thought about all those years. All those birthdays when I'd felt an inexplicable sadness I couldn't name. All those times I'd looked at my reflection and felt like something was missing. The Chens had asked if I wanted a sibling, if they should adopt again. But I'd always said no without understanding why. Because I already had a sibling. And losing him once was enough. I need his number, I said. Right now. Angela gave it to me. Then she gave me his address, his email, his full name, Michael James Chen, also adopted, also renamed. She said he'd been waiting by his phone since they'd told him they'd found me. My finger was hovering over the call button when my own phone rang, an Oregon number I didn't recognize. I answered. Robert? The voice on the other end was mine. Not similar, identical. The same pitch, the same slight rasp, the same cadence. Robert, it's me. It's Michael. Angela called me and said you'd call. But I couldn't wait. I'm sorry. I've been looking for you for so long. I remember you, I said, and my voice cracked. I remember the cars. You took the blue one. There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end. Then, you kept the red one? I'm holding it right now. The sound he made wasn't quite a laugh and wasn't quite a sob. I have the blue one in my pocket. I carry it everywhere. I always have. We talked for 3 hours. We'd lived parallel lives, both adopted by loving families, both taking our adoptive parents' last names, both ending up with the surname Chen through sheer coincidence. He'd become an electrician. I'd been a mechanic. He'd married at 25, divorced at 32, remarried at 40. I'd married at 23 and was still with Claire after 39 years. He had 2 daughters. I had 1 daughter and 1 son. His daughters were 31 and 28. My kids were 37 and 34. We've been grandparents at the same time, Michael said. You have 3 grandkids, right? I saw your daughter's Facebook page. I found you 2 years ago online, but I wasn't sure if it was really you, and I was afraid to reach out in case I was wrong. 4 grandkids now, I said. Lisa just had another baby. And you found me? Why didn't you message me? I was terrified, he admitted. What if you didn't remember me? What if you didn't want to be found? What if I ruined the life you'd built? So I just watched from a distance. I saw your retirement party pictures. I saw when you renewed your vows with Claire. I saw your son's wedding, and I did the DNA test as a last resort, hoping maybe somehow, if you ever did one too. I wish you'd messaged me, I said. I would have remembered. I never forgot you. I'm remembering now. Michael said quietly. Watching you get in that car, Mrs. Henderson holding you back when you tried to run after me, the way you pressed your hand against the window. You did the same thing. Yeah, I did. Claire came home around 2 in the afternoon and found me still on the phone, surrounded by photo albums I'd pulled out. I'd been sending pictures to me at 10, at 15, at 20, at 30. He'd been doing the same. Side by side, our lives had been eerily similar. Same expressions in photos, same tendency to cross our arms when we were thinking, same crooked smile. "Who are you talking to?" Claire asked, setting down her grocery bags. I put the phone on speaker. "Claire, this is Michael, my twin brother." To her credit, Claire didn't miss a beat. "The one from the car?" I'd told her about that memory once, years ago, shortly after we'd gotten married. She'd listened and held my hand and hadn't pushed for details I didn't have. Now she pulled up a chair. "Hi, Michael," she said. "Robert talks about you more than he realizes." "Does he do that thing where he touches his left wrist when he's anxious?" Michael asked. Claire's eyes widened. "Yes. How did you—" "I do it too. It's a twin thing, I think." We decided to meet the next day. Michael offered to drive to Bend, but I said I'd come to Portland. I needed to be the one moving toward him this time, not the one being left behind. That night, I barely slept. I kept getting up to look at the toy car on my nightstand, to touch it and make sure it was real. Claire finally pulled me back to bed around 3 in the morning. "He's real," she whispered. "He's been real this whole time." 54 years, I said. "We lost 54 years. "No," Claire said firmly. "You didn't lose them. They were stolen from you. There's a difference." She was right. Mrs. Patterson had stolen them. The system that enabled her had stolen them. The falsified records had stolen them. But Michael and I, we'd held on. We'd remembered. We'd carried those toy cars across decades like anchors, like proof that we'd existed together once. I left for Portland at 7 in the morning. The drive was 2 hours and felt like both an eternity and an instant. Michael had suggested we meet at a diner called the Breakfast Club, a neutral location where we could talk as long as we wanted. When I pulled into the parking lot at 9:15, there was a man standing by a blue pickup truck, his hand in his pocket. I knew him. I knew him before I saw his face, before I registered the gray in his hair that matched mine, before I noticed the way he stood with his weight on his left leg, the same way I did. I knew him the way you know your own reflection. I got out of my car. He pulled his hand from his pocket, and there it was, a tiny blue Hot Wheels car, a '67 Camaro. I held up my red one. The distance between us evaporated. I don't know who moved first, but suddenly we were standing face to face, and I was looking at myself 54 years ago, looking at myself now, looking at all the years in between written in the lines around his eyes and the set of his shoulders and the way he was fighting tears the same way I was fighting tears. "Hi," he said. "Hi," I said back. And then we were hugging, and I was crying, and he was crying, and some part of me that had been holding its breath for 54 years finally exhaled. We went inside and ordered coffee and pancakes that neither of us ate because we couldn't stop talking. People at other tables glanced over occasionally, probably wondering why 2 identical old men were sitting across from each other, crying and laughing in equal measure. "Do you remember Mrs. Henderson's cat?" Michael asked. "The orange one?" "Butterscotch. He was fat and mean. He liked you better than me. Used to sleep on your bed. Because I gave him extra treats. You were allergic. I wasn't that allergic." Michael grinned, and it was my grin. And it was surreal and wonderful and heartbreaking all at once. We traded memories, filling in gaps. He remembered our mother better than I did, remembered that she worked at a diner, that she wanted to be a singer, that she cried a lot but tried to hide it. I remembered the apartment better, the crack in the ceiling above our bed that looked like a dragon, the neighbor who played trumpet at odd hours, the park 2 blocks away with the broken swings. "What happened to her?" I asked. "Our mother. Do you know?" Michael nodded slowly. "I found her in 1998. She was living in Nevada, working as a waitress. She had another kid, a daughter, from a different relationship. I met her once. And she was sorry. Said she'd been too young, too poor, too everything. Said she thought we'd be better off. Said she tried to find us in the 90s, but the records were sealed. He paused. She died in 2010. Lung cancer. I absorbed this. A sister I'd never known. A mother I barely remembered, who'd tried to find us too late. More stolen years. The daughter? I asked. Sarah. She lives in Reno. She knows about us. I sent her a Facebook message a few years ago. We're friendly. Not close, but friendly. I can connect you if you want. I'd like that. We talked about Mrs. Patterson then, about the investigation Michael's advocate had launched, about how many families she might have destroyed, about how justice, when it came, was cold comfort for all the lost years, but about how at least knowing the truth was something. She wrote in the records that I had behavioral problems, Michael said, his voice hardening, that I was difficult to place. I was 8 years old, and I'd just lost my brother. Of course I had behavioral problems, but that followed me through the system. Foster homes didn't want the difficult kid. My records said I was an only child, who adapted well, I said. But I didn't adapt. I just shut down. The Chens thought I was naturally quiet. I let them think that because it was easier than explaining I was waiting for someone I couldn't remember clearly but knew was missing. We sat with that for a moment, with the weight of what had been done to us, what had been taken. Then Michael reached across the table and tapped his blue car against my red one. We're here now, he said. That has to count for something. It counts for everything, I said. We spent the rest of the day together. He showed me his house, met his wife Janet, who cried when she shook my hand. He showed me photo albums of his daughters, Melissa and Catherine. I called Lisa and put her on video chat, and she and Michael stared at each other and then both started laughing because apparently I'd told her so many stories about the boy from the car that she'd half convinced herself I'd made him up. I'm real, Michael told her, and you look just like our mother did at your age. Robert probably doesn't remember, but I do. You have her smile. Lisa cried then too. That evening, Michael and I sat on his back porch while Janet and Claire talked on the phone, planning a dinner for the following week where both our families could meet. The sun was setting over Portland, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. I thought about you every single birthday, Michael said. Every year, at the exact time we were born, I'd think, he's out there somewhere. My brother is out there somewhere. I did the same thing, I said. I never knew why. I just knew I had to. Do you think we would have found each other without the DNA test? Eventually, I said. I think we've been moving toward each other this whole time, just very, very slowly. He pulled out his blue car again, turned it over in his hands. The paint was worn. One of the wheels was loose. I can't believe you kept yours. I can't believe you kept yours. We were 8 years old, Michael said. We didn't know about DNA tests or databases, or any of the things that would eventually bring us back together. We just knew we needed to hold on to something, so we did. I looked at my red car, equally worn, equally treasured. 54 years, I said. That's a long time to hold on to a toy car. It wasn't a toy, Michael said quietly. It was proof. Proof that you existed. Proof that I wasn't crazy. Proof that I had a brother somewhere, even if everyone told me I didn't. We sat there as the sky darkened, two old men who were also two 8-year-old boys, pressing our toy cars together the way we'd once pressed our palms against car windows. Before I left that night, Michael gave me something, a folder full of documents his advocate had compiled. Birth certificates, foster care records, adoption papers, everything that proved what we'd lived through. I want you to have copies, he said, in case you ever need them, in case anyone ever tries to tell you that this didn't happen. I took the folder. No one could make me believe this didn't happen. Not now. Good, Michael said, because I'm not losing you again. You won't, I promised. And I meant it. The drive back to Bend that night was different from the drive there that morning. I wasn't alone anymore. I had a brother again. I had answers. I had a family tree that suddenly had more branches than I'd known existed. When I got home, Claire was waiting up. How do you feel? She asked. Complete, I said. For the first time in 54 years, I feel complete. She hugged me, and I held on to her and thought about all the people who'd tried to help us. Angela, from Ancestry Match, Michael's advocate, the people who were working to correct falsified records, the system that was slowly, belatedly, acknowledging its failures. But mostly, I thought about Michael, carrying a blue car in his pocket for 54 years, never giving up, never forgetting, never letting them erase what we'd been to each other. The next morning, I called my kids Lisa and David and told them everything. David, who'd always wanted a sibling growing up, kept saying, "I have an uncle," over and over like he couldn't quite believe it. Lisa wanted to know everything about Catherine and Melissa, her cousins she'd never known existed. "Are they nice?" she asked. "Do they have kids?" "They have 5 kids between them," I said. "Which means you have 5 second cousins you didn't know about." "Dad," Lisa said, her voice shaking, "you have nephews and nieces. You have a whole extended family. This is incredible." It was incredible. And it was also devastating when I let myself think about all the birthday parties we'd missed, all the graduations, all the weddings, all the ordinary moments that should have been ours to share. But I couldn't change the past. None of us could. What we could do was move forward. That following week, both families gathered at Michael and Janet's house. It was chaos, a good chaos. Kids running everywhere, adults trying to keep track of who was who, everyone marveling at how much Michael and I looked alike, how we had the same laugh, how we said certain words the same way, how we both put ketchup on our eggs and took our coffee black and couldn't stand the sound of styrofoam. Melissa and Catherine showed me photos of their kids. David and Catherine discovered they both played guitar. Lisa and Melissa exchanged numbers and immediately started planning to meet up without the old people, as Lisa jokingly called us. At one point, Claire pulled me aside. "Look at all of this," she said, gesturing to the crowded living room. "All these people exist because you and Michael existed. Even the years apart couldn't erase that." She was right. We'd each built lives, raised families, created legacies, and now those legacies were weaving together, creating something larger than either of us could have built alone. Late that night, after everyone had left or gone to bed, Michael and I sat in his garage. He'd pulled out a box of old things, school papers, photos, report cards from his various foster homes. We went through them together, filling in more gaps, telling more stories. "I used to have nightmares," Michael said, "about the car driving away, about watching you disappear. They finally stopped when I was in my 30s. I had them too," I said. "Mine stopped when I met Claire. She gave me something else to hold on to. Janet did the same for me." We looked at each other, and I saw my own life reflected back at me, the good parts and the hard parts, the joy and the pain, the love found and the time lost. "Do you think we're good people?" Michael asked suddenly. "Despite everything, despite what was done to us?" "I think we're better than good," I said. "We survived. We built lives worth living. We found love. We raised good kids. And we never forgot each other. That takes strength most people never have to develop." "I'm angry, though," he admitted. "At Patterson. At the system. At all the time we lost." "So am I," I said. "I don't think that anger ever fully goes away. But I also know that anger isn't the only thing we get to feel. We also get to feel this joy, this connection, this sense of finally being whole again." "You always were the wise one," Michael said with a slight smile. "You remember that?" "No," he admitted, "but I'm choosing to believe it now." We laughed, and it felt like coming home. Over the next few months, Michael and I made up for lost time in whatever ways we could. We met every 2 weeks, alternating between Portland and Bend. We video chatted weekly. We texted each other random thoughts throughout the day. We shared a cloud drive where we uploaded photos from our separate childhoods, creating a visual timeline of parallel lives. We also connected with Sarah, our half-sister in Reno. She was 43, warm and funny, and just as eager to build a relationship as we were. She sent us photos of our mother, stories we'd never heard, pieces of a puzzle we'd been missing. She talked about you two sometimes, Sarah told us, over a video call. She'd say she had 2 boys she gave up, and that it was the biggest regret of her life. "I think she spent the rest of her life wondering if you were okay." "We were okay," Michael said. "We survived." She would have been glad to know that. Sarah said softly. The advocate working on Michael's case eventually published a report about Patricia Patterson. She'd separated 47 sibling groups over 15 years, 94 children in total. Some of them had found each other. Many hadn't. Michael and I participated in a support group for reunited siblings, sharing our story, hearing others' stories, marveling at the resilience of the human spirit. One evening, about 6 months after our reunion, I was in my garage working on an old car. I was restoring a 1967 Camaro. Red. I'd bought it 3 months earlier, telling myself it was just a hobby project, but I knew what it really was. It was me, trying to make something broken whole again. Michael called. "I'm in your driveway," he said. I went outside. He was leaning against his truck, grinning. "I brought you something," he said, and popped open the truck bed. Inside was another 1967 Camaro. Blue. "I bought it 2 weeks ago," he said. "Figured we could restore them together." I started laughing. "You know what the crazy thing is? I bought mine 3 months ago." "Of course you did," Michael said, shaking his head. "We're twins. We're supposed to do the same thing." We spent that weekend in my garage, side by side, working on the cars. It was comfortable, easy, like we'd been doing it for years instead of days. We didn't talk much, didn't need to. The work was enough. The presence was enough. On Sunday evening, as Michael was getting ready to leave, he paused. "Do you think Patterson knew?" he asked. "What she was doing to us?" I'd thought about this a lot. "I think she knew she was separating siblings," I said. "I don't think she understood what that meant. Or maybe she did and didn't care. I don't know which is worse." "She's dead now," Michael said, "so I can't tell her what she took from us. But I can tell you what she didn't take. She didn't take our memory of each other. She didn't take our capacity to find our way back. She didn't take the fact that we are, and always have been, brothers." "No," I agreed. "She didn't take that." A year after our reunion, both families gathered for Thanksgiving at Lisa's house. There were 23 of us crammed around tables that had been pushed together. 3 generations of family that had almost never existed as a unit. Before dinner, Lisa asked me to say grace. I'm not particularly religious, but I agreed. "I'm grateful," I said, looking around at all those faces, some I'd known my whole life, some I'd known for a year, for second chances, for DNA tests, for people who don't give up, for toy cars and memories, and the fact that love survives, even when everything else is taken away. I'm grateful for my brother, who carried a blue car for 54 years and never stopped looking. And I'm grateful that somehow, despite everything, we're all here together now. Michael raised his glass. "To second chances," he said. "To second chances," everyone echoed. I looked across the table at Michael, at my reflection, at my brother, and I thought about that 8-year-old boy in the back of a car, pressing his palm against the glass. I thought about what I would tell him if I could reach back through time. I'd tell him to hold on to that red car. I'd tell him that the wait will be long and painful and sometimes seem impossible. I'd tell him that 54 years is a lifetime to be apart. But I'd also tell him that his brother is holding on to a blue car, that his brother is thinking of him every birthday, that his brother will never stop looking. And I'd tell him that one day, in a parking lot in Portland, he'll hold up that red car, and his brother will hold up the blue one, and everything that was broken will start to mend. Some things, I've learned, can't be truly stolen. They can be buried, hidden, obscured, but not erased. The bond between siblings is like that. It exists beneath paperwork and falsified records and years of separation. It waits, patient and persistent, for the moment when it can surface again. That moment came for us. It might not come for everyone, but for those still searching, still hoping, still carrying their own version of a toy car through the years. I want them to know that it's possible. Reunion is possible. Healing is possible. Second chances are possible. Just don't give up. Don't let them convince you that what you remember didn't happen. Don't let them erase what you know in your bones to be true. Hold on to your red car. Hold on to your blue car. Hold on to whatever small piece of evidence you have that your person exists. Because somewhere out there, they might be holding on to their peace too. And one day, you might get to hold them together again.